Welcome back, everyone, to the fourth session of the second day of the 5-day skill development program in English language. Our mentor for the session is Dr.M.E. Veda Sharan, Department of English as Second Language Studies, School of English Language Education, the English and Foreign Languages University, Hyderabad, Telangana. In his last session, he took the students into the journey of the development of English language and gave examples of how languages have contributed to enrich the English language. He also gave the students insights into what makes a good reader. A good reader knows when to skim a passage or browse or peruse. The participants learned that a good reader will look for contextual meaning rather than a dictionary meaning. We are looking forward to this session in order to learn strategies to further hone our reading skills. With the permission of the chair, I would like to begin this session. May I now request Dr.M.E. Veda Sharan to kindly begin the fourth session. Over to you, sir.
Okay, good morning, ma'am. Thank you so much for a very kind introduction.
Good morning.
And good morning to you all. I'm sorry I'm talking to you, reaching out to you over my phone, and it doesn't allow me to type. So, good morning to you all once again.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, ma'am. Could we start off, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we can start. Sir, do you want your PPT on the screen?
Ma'am?
Would you like your PPT on the screen?
Yes.
Yes. Roy, ma'am, I request you to kindly share your screen.
I think this one is sharing. Shrirupa, or should I? Should I?
Okay, Shirupati is here. 1 minute.
Okay. In case her backup fails, I am there. Okay?
Okay, ma'am, no problem. Shirupa, ma'am, you're there?
Yes, Prachi, I'm here.
Yeah, please share your screen.
Is it okay? Is it visible?
Yes.
I think it is
Yes,
Prachi, please confirm if it is visible.
Yes, ma'am, it's
Ma'am,
visible,
this
but
is
I think it's
yesterday.
yesterday's screen, not today's.
This is yesterday's PPT.
Shall I share then?
Yes, ma'am, if you have it, you can do it at your end.
Shrirupa? She has muted herself.
Yes.
Okay, so I am sharing.
Chanidhi, please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, today I thought we could look at some aspects of reading a book, of how to approach a book. And this
Is it visible, Prachi?
Yes, ma'am, it is visible. Please put it on full screen mode.
Yes. Okay. Yes,
Yeah,
sir. Please go ahead.
Okay. Yesterday we had seen some aspects of reading. Today I thought we could look at what I would like to call the anatomy of a book. So these are basically, as I say here, preliminaries, some preliminaries. There are a lot of other issues that we don't have the time to discuss in this short session. So let's get down to the next slide, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
So you see, a book has many interesting things about it. Some books you may have noticed are paperbacks. Some of them have hardcovers. And hardcover books, as you know, are more costly than paperbacks because hardcover books have a longer life. They have different kinds of paper inside. There's something called the Bible paper, which is very thin and very strong. And this is designed to be frequently used, especially in reference books and things like that. As you know, as we look at the book, the paper, the print, everything has an effect on our mind, our approach to this. So it's a good idea to know what these things are. So we'll look at these things today. Ma'am, can we move on to the second slide?
Dr. Devjani, kindly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
kindly.
I have moved on, sir. I have moved on.
The second screen, I can only see the first screen here.
There's
I
a bit of
moved
a
on.
lag, I think.
Sir, it says title, Flyleaf. That is the one you want to share, sir?
No, it says portrait, dust jacket.
Okay. This is the second slide, sir. Anatomy of a book.
Yes, I can see only the first screen here, reading some preliminaries. That's all I can see here.
What about others? Is it
Dr. Devjani, if you can click on the
Yes.
enable editing option that shows up on the screen and then go slideshow mode.
Yeah, I'm
And then
in
click on the
slideshow
next.
mode.
But
Can
your
the
screen
others-
is not moving actually.
It's not moving?
No.
Sridhi, if you could share from your
Yes,
end.
yes, I'm ready with the presentation. Would you?
So I'll
Dr.
stop.
Roy,
Yes,
Dr.
I'll
Roy,
stop.
even on the YouTube, it's not moving. It's just stuck on the first.
Okay,
first
okay. So yes, I'll stop share. Yes.
Prachi, please
Yes.
confirm if it is visible.
Right.
Yes, it is visible.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
Okay, so a book can be printed in two forms, portrait and landscape. Portrait is the ordinary kind of book, the usual kind of book. And landscape is something that is printed lengthwise, cuisine books and so on. These are printed in landscape. Widthwise, our electronic book manuals and so on. Then we have a dust jacket, a paper that covers the book from outside. That's a dust jacket. And then I'll show you these things as we go along. Then there's a cover, which can be hardcover and paperback. We have the front cover and the back cover, and the spine is the back of the book. The gutter is when you open the book, there's a space where two pages join up. They're pasted together. That's the gutter. And then we have the design on the cover. Can we just look at the one which says broken English, ma'am?
Okay, the photos that you had sent, sir.
Yeah, in the photos, there is something called the
One.
broken English. A book cover called Broken English.
Shirupa ma'am, will you switch the screen or will I do it at my end?
Yes, I'm doing.
Yes.
This is called Broken English.
Is it
What does the
visible?
title suggest to you? Anybody can make a guess about the title? Broken
No, not
English.
right now. It's not.
No, Shrirupa, it's not visible right now.
Is it okay?
No, we still have the previous one only, Shrirupa.
1 minute.
Okay, just a moment. I am sharing it again. Is it okay? Is it?
No, we are still seeing
No.
the.
Is it okay?
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Yes.
It's okay.
Yeah,
It's
Previous
okay.
fine.
one, ma'am.
Okay,
The previous
okay.
one. The previous one.
Go to the previous picture after
This
this
one.
one.
This one.
Okay.
This is the one, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's called Broken English, and you can see the title is broken up vertically and horizontally. On the right side, bottom half of the page, you can see poetry and partiality. And the name of the writer is Heather McHugh. Anybody can comment on this, please? Why it has been designed as it has been designed. Please remember that a book is designed by specialists, people who have paid a lot of money to design the book. So there's a purpose behind the design, and it's a good idea to look at the cover of the book because it is communicating with us about the idea in the book itself. Yeah, you tell me, Devyani, can you make a guess about it? The cover page has to have a relationship with the contents inside. And the cover page is designed in collaboration with the author, the publishers, and other people like that. Yeah, I'm sorry, I just took.
The students are saying to portray the contents.
Okay.
Telling the theme, probably.
Yeah, how is it doing
to provide
that?
ideas.
It gives you an idea. So the line is broken. Broken English should be, this is Dr. Janet Andrew from Department of English.
Okay.
Instead of a straight line, broken English, it's broken into two parts and they are at right angles. The sentence is broken. It's a pictorial representation of what is being said. It's a pictorial representation.
So Sharika Silvana is saying it depicts something disordered.
This is about poetry, if you remember. Does it give you any ideas? This is a book about poetry. How do you write poetry? Any poets among you? Yeah, that's right. You see that the line in the poem is broken. It doesn't go from one end of the page to the other end. So you break it at all sorts of places in the line and go to the second line. No, it's not actually disconnected, but the broken English is it's broken in the sense that the line is broken up without reaching the full stop. Yes, it should have rhymes and so on. So you will see that in poetry, the line is broken up. We'll come back to it a little later.
They are not end-stopped lines. They are not end-stopped lines.
Yes.
Okay. Ma'am, can we go to the next picture? The next picture, ma'am.
Yeah.
No, this is not the next picture. A previous one. Yeah, this is the one. Please excuse the inscription on that. You will see on the top, broken English is printed there. This is called the half title. It's also called the bastard title. I don't know why it's called that. This is the half title. You'll see only half the title is printed here. The full title is Broken English, Poetry and Partiality. That's the full title. But here you have only half the title, and this is called the half title page. Can you go to the next page, ma'am? This is the title page where you get the complete title, Poetry and Partiality. Yeah, you will see that the word partiality refers to a part. Not being partial is not complete. So in poetry, the line is not complete in the sense it's not a sentence, it's a line. And you can see that there are some details here. These parts of a book are very important for us to notice. This is the full title page. This is called the title page because it has the whole title. The previous one that we saw is called the half title page. Next one, ma'am. This is called the copyright page, and it gives you all the information about the book, where it was printed, at which year was it printed in, and all sorts of information like that. So if you want to get permission to quote from this book, you need to write to them at this address, which is provided here. Ma'am, next page. Next slide. Okay, so you come back to this. All right, so this is the half title page once again. Right. Okay, can you come to the next slide, ma'am, in the PPT?
Yes, sir, I'm doing.
Yeah, so here we have the parts of a book, the title. The flyleaf is the blank pages in a book before the title begins. They are called flyleaves, where nothing is written. And the function of the flyleaf is to give strength to the book. And that's why they are there. Then you have the half title, which we saw here. It's also called the basket title, I told you. I don't know why it's called that. Acknowledgements is the writer acknowledges the debts that they owe. Copyright page. We have a foreword by somebody else, some expert, who is not the writer of the book. And then there is the preface, contents, and there is the introduction that begins the book. The introduction is sometimes called the prolegomena. Ma'am, next one, next slide. Then we have the conclusion, and sometimes we have the epilogue. The epilogue is the opposite of the prologue. The prologue is a preliminary to the main book, and the epilogue is a thing that happens after the conclusion. Okay, then we have the index at the end. The index can be a subject index where only the subjects are mentioned, and there's a separate author index in which we talk about the people who are mentioned in the book there. So sometimes this can be two different indices. Next one, ma'am. At the back of the book, we have what is called the blurb. The blurb gives you some information about the book. You have quotations from reviews and other things. Generally, they say it's a very beautiful book, so you buy it. Does anyone look at the blurb sometimes when you want to buy a book?
Yes, sir, definitely.
Yeah, the word blurb is not exactly a formal term now. Neither is it informal. It's just coming into use now. And so this blurb is there at the back of the book. And it gives us some information about what the book is doing. So yesterday we had seen that we have one style of going through the book to see if it's useful for us. Does anybody remember the kind of style of reading a book in a bookshop? Where we quickly turn the pages with our thumb.
Skim.
Not really. Yes, skim,
Browse,
of course.
browse. First you
Skim.
browse. First you browse and then you peruse.
Yeah, the word we had seen yesterday was browsing.
Browsing. And then perusing.
Yeah, where you quickly, you don't read the details in the book, but you quickly look at the content page, at the titles on the top. Yeah, exactly. Browse is the word. You browse a book in a bookshop, where you quickly turn the pages with your thumb. Maybe look at the pictures for a minute or so, and things like that. So the point I'm trying to make here is that we begin our interaction with the book even before we touch it. When we see it on the shelf in the bookshop, we begin to interact with it. We look at the cover, we look at the title, and we start responding to it even before we touch it. So when we pick it up, it can be an experience to feel it in our hands, the glossiness, the shine on the cover, the hardness of the hardcover or the paperback, and so on. We'll get back to these things a little later. So this is what we do. The next one, ma. Next slide, please. Yeah, it would be impossible to list the kind of books that we read, literally. But here are some popular books that we use in our daily academic life. Reference books. Anybody can say what reference books are? Examples of reference books. How is a reference book different from a subject book or from a textbook? Any examples of reference books? Supplement is what we add at the end to the main book. Reference books are things like, yes, that's right. Reference books are things like, okay, these are publishers. Yes, the dictionary, very good. A dictionary is a reference book. An encyclopedia is a reference book in the sense that you read only those parts which are relevant for you. This is a reference book. Encyclopedias, dictionaries, thesauruses, gazettes. Yes, exactly. These are reference books. And then you have the subject books, which can be on physics, economics, social sciences, whatever they are. That's right. Dissertations are, of course, the books that you will write as a PhD scholar. There are polemical books, books which are about debates. They contest certain things. They could be religious books, for example, challenging other religions or questioning certain interpretations of a religion and so on. Then we have a monograph, which is a scholarly book that is not published, but it has only 1 or 2 copies which are placed in the library, but it is not published by any publisher as such. This is called a monograph. Very limited copies are printed of this. So these are some of the different kinds of books. The coffee table book is, of course, a very large book. It has a very glossy cover, and usually the subject is a light subject, though it can be a serious topic. You can have some coffee table books on furniture. These are very profusely illustrated books with a lot of pictures in them. The text is comparatively less. The paper is very glossy. Okay, polemics refers to debates, controversies, and ideas on which people argue with each other. They discuss and they debate. So a polemical book normally challenges, questions, disagrees with what other people are saying. And there can be an argument going from one side to the other. So when you write a book questioning somebody, they will write another book questioning you. So it's a controversy and a debate. These are polemical books. Okay, can we go to the next slide? So you will see that different books have different purposes here. Reference books are, as we have seen, books that give you a very broad introduction to these things. So if you are in the social sciences, you can have the Macmillan publication, Encyclopedia of Social Sciences, which is an amazing encyclopedia. The most popular encyclopedia in the world is the Encyclopedia Britannica. It's called Britannica, but now it's owned by the Americans, though it's supposed to belong to the British. The Americans have purchased it. It's a wonderful reference book. You have a CD form of it for about 3,000 rupees. You get 36 volumes of it, covering almost every subject, with Nobel Prize winners writing articles for it. So if you're interested in these things, you could take a look at that, or maybe your college could buy it for you. Yes, ma'am. So novels you know very well. I don't need to explain that. Ma'am, next one, please. Next one, ma'am. The previous one. Previous one, ma'am. Yeah, no. Yeah, this one. That's the one. That's the one. So we have anthologies here. Anybody from botany here? Any student doing botany? Anthology is the botanical term. Anthology is the study of flowers, but anthologies, as you know, are collections of works by, yes, exactly. It's a collection of poems. It could be a collection of many other short stories or whatever. That's an anthology. But basically, the word anthology comes from botany. It's a part of botany. It is the science of studying flowers. So yes, it is a collection of poems and short stories. But the root is from anthos means flowers in Greek, and anthology is the study of flowers. So yes, a collection of poems, short stories, novels, whatever. Then we have the hypertext now in modern, technology. You have the hyperlinks that go from one connection to another connection. Um, cycles we have where books are published at regular intervals. You can make an album of your favorite poems, short stories, or so on. A gazette is a book that gives you a list of place names. Um, that's called a gazette, published by the government. And then you have a conspectus, which is a brief summary of what you want to say, briefly explaining something. A festschrift is a book of essays and things like that, which is okay. A gazette is a book that contains place names. It can also contain the names of individuals who are in government service. These are arranged alphabetically, and it's a very official publication. Then we have a festschrift. A festschrift is a book or a collection of essays, usually by the colleagues of a person who is retiring from their job. Uh, it's uh, it's a collection of essays presented to this retiring person as an honor for their service, and this book is called a Festschrift. It is a German word. So yeah, yes, ma'am. Yes, it is. That's right. The Gazette of India. The Gazette of India. That's correct. The Gazette of India is the different governments publish, not only the government of India, but okay. Now the title plays a very important role in the title of a book, as we have seen now, Broken English. It is suggesting to us about how the topic of the book here. Now, a similar thing happens when we watch a movie. Ma'am, can we just move to the next slide? Next slide, ma'am. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure these are familiar titles for you. Sholay is a very popular movie, I think. What does it mean in Hindi, and what is the connection between the title and the story? Gunjan Saxena, the Kargil girl, this is a very clear thing. Um, so she's seen as a very young person here. Then you can look at this title here, Love Aajkal, half English and half Hindi,
English.
which suggests informality. This is the, I'm sorry, there's a mistake here. It should be loot case, not last case. It should be loot case. I believe this is a movie about a young man who finds a suitcase full of money.
Yes, sir.
So as you can see, it's a sort of pun on it between suitcase and loot case. So how does this title explain what is happening in the movie? Angreji medium, Angreji is in Hindi, and medium is in English. Shimla Mirch, I think, is about this boy who falls in love with a girl and gives her a love letter, and she gives a love letter to her mother. So it is a Mirchi part of it. So you can see that the title has a connection with the story, and the movie makers are helping you to understand what is going to happen there. If you look at Sholay, I think these are Sholay can be translated into English as embers, if I'm not wrong.
Yes,
Where
sir.
the fire has burnt out, but the coals are still red hot. So it probably suggests hopes and desires and ambitions which are burnt out, but these are still alive in the sense that they are burning still. So this happens at many different levels. Sorry. And as we look back at the movie, the title helps us to understand what exactly is happening there. Ma'am, can we move to the next slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now let's look at some of the books that we are familiar with. Would you like to comment on this story here? This Mahatma Gandhi's autobiography, as you know. It is the story of my experiments, plural form, with truth and autobiography. Any comments on this? Why is it not a story but the story? Any guess about it? So the writers are usually very careful in choosing the titles, and we should pay a lot of attention to the title. It's not a story but the story of my experiments, not experiment but experiments with truths, singular form, and autobiography. Anybody would like to comment on this?
Sir, sir,
Yes,
am I
ma'am.
audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Sir, it specifically deals with the story of Mahatma Gandhi.
Yes, that's right. But why has he given this title in the way that he has? Could you
Sir,
comment on each word there?
the story refers to his life in which he did experiments related to the non-violence was an experiment by him to remove the British rule from India.
Yeah, that's only a part of it, ma'am. Removing British rule is only a part of it. But there are other things
Sir,
also that happen in the story.
I would like to add, so the means something definite, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
the story of my experiment is probably him trying to explain that about his life that he lived and the experiments that he did.
Yes, ma'am. There are many incidents in the book, but they're all a part of one story, which is united, a single story, and that's why he says it is the story of my experiments, meaning it's a very personal thing. And the word experiment suggests that he's trying to find out what truth is, and he hasn't so far found out what it is. So it's the story of my experiments with truth. It is an autobiography, one of many autobiographies, where he places himself in the tradition of writing autobiographies. Any other comments anybody would like to make? Okay, can we look at the next title? Wings of Fire, an autobiography. Any comments on this? How is this title appropriate to the writer's career?
It's one
Sir,
of the
this is the
masterpiece.
Shivangi can speak for now.
Sorry.
Sir, this is the autobiography of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. In
Yeah,
this,
that's right.
In this book, he has written about his early life, his struggles. That's why it is titled as The Wings of Fire.
Could you be a little more elaborate on that?
Shubhra, would you like to add?
Yes, ma'am, I would like to add. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes, I believe it's one of the phenomenal works by APJ Abdul Kalam, and The Wings of Fire is in which he shows his struggles right from his childhood and to becoming who he became at the end. It's something that denotes passion, and it's filled with that. So that's what I believe Wings of Fire is. It's a book filled with passion, and yeah.
Okay, great. That's right. That's fine. But could you look at it word by word? Why wings and why of fire?
So we are getting comments from
Now
YouTube.
it's just a guess.
Please do. What do wings do?
They make you fly, help you fly.
Yeah, they lift you up from the
Yes, sir.
ground.
To soar high.
So from a poor background, you go up to a higher level.
So Khushi Kumari writes in the YouTube chat box that it talks about the struggles of the writer, the life struggles, and how he
Yes.
overcome and he soared high.
Does it suggest success?
Yes, sir. It suggests success.
In what sense does it
Oh,
suggest
certainly,
success?
sir. His dreams became a reality. I guess that's what the success is.
Yeah, it's
here.
actually the conquest of your limitations. As human beings, we don't have wings. We are trapped on the ground. But the birds don't have any such limitation. They can fly around. And so the writer gets his wings of fire, probably a reference to the missiles that he helped make.
Yes, sir.
So, in that sense, he's referring to an important aspect of his life, and he wants us to look at these things. So, why exactly are they called? Is this book called Wings of Fire? So, I'm sure there could be a lot of other speculations that can go on with this thing. Now, if you look at Kalidasa's works here, Abhignana Shakuntalam, and then the Ritu Samhara. Ritu Samhara, how would you explain Ritu Samhara? Ritu Samhara is it's a pageant or a procession of seasons. He talks about the 4 seasons in his poetry in a sequence. In the Shakuntalam, the king forgets his relationship. Yeah, so I'll just leave that and get on to the Untouchable. Anybody has read The Untouchable by Mulkraj Anand?
Yes, sir. It is a book by Mulkraj. It is a novel by Mulkraj Anand, and in that he has written about the suppressed section of the society, the people who were considered to be untouchables at that period of time.
Yeah, that's right. It's a story of a scavenger, somebody who cleans the latrines out there.
Yes, sir.
It covers one day in his life. Okay, it contains all the obscene, dirty, vulgar words that people use, the less educated people use. And the interesting thing is that E.M. Foster wrote a foreword to this, if you have read that. That shows a very interesting relationships between writers themselves. Foster was an Englishman. He was a very famous, successful novelist. As you know, A Passage to India was one of his. So he wrote a preface to this book in which he justifies the filthy, obscene, vulgar language that is used in the book. He explains a little bit about what's happening there. Okay, the next one, could you comment on the next one? My Guru and His Disciple. Any comments on the last title here?
Relationship between a teacher and the student.
Yeah, what does it suggest here? Does it suggest a mutuality? Yes, yes, it's a student-teacher relationship. What are my and his here? What parts of speech would my and his be here? They are pronouns, of course. Yeah. What do they show? Do they show possession, ownership, a very close relationship? Yeah, it's a mutual relationship. Yes. My guru and his disciple. So it's a perspective from both sides. What do you think the writer is trying to say? Is it going to be personal or is it going to be impersonal? Yes, yes, that's right. It's a subject that that a student has written about it. Yes, absolutely right. Okay, they share a very warm relationship. It's personal and also impersonal because my guru, I can be personal. His disciple, exactly. So it is both personal and impersonal at the same time, or at least it tries to be. Yes, exactly, exactly. So yeah, so the title, it does form a very important part of this thing. Uh, any other comments that you'd like to make before we go to the next slide? A few more books that I would like you to look at. Fine, can we go to the next slide?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so here again, can you um, comment on the first one? The articles especially, how do the articles affect the meaning of the title? Anybody would like to comment on that? Why is it not the portrait, but why is it a portrait? Why is it not an artist, but the artist?
So a portrait singular of the artist, a very specific person.
Yeah, could you come back to your portrait and be a little more detailed about it? Okay, it's a focus on the artist, fine. Could you begin at the beginning? How would the meaning change if it were the portrait? But here it is a portrait. What is the change in meaning if we were to say the portrait of the artist?
So, the portrait specifically referred the artist as a young man. But here, a portrait does not specifically says whether the artist is a young man or not.
No, but it
He
does
can,
say it's a young man, ma'am.
yes, but the portrait is not specific that this is the artist's portrait. Has he has portrayed himself?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Kaya, you're right. Yeah, yeah, that's right, ma'am. Exactly. When you say it is a portrait, yes, there is specific. When you say it's a portrait, it is one of the many possible portraits. There are other portraits which are possible, but this is only one of them. Similarly, we have this novel by E.M. Foster, A Passage to India, if you remember. It is one of the many possible passages. It's not the only passage. So when you say it's a portrait of the artist, all artists are one, whether you're a sculptor or a writer or a painter or whoever you are an artist. As a young man, like there are millions of young men, and the artist is one of those millions of young men. And as you pointed out, ma'am, that is the life of the artist. So the writer is pointing out this fact that this is one of the possible portraits. It's not the only portrait possible. It's a portrait of the artist as a young man. If you look at the next one here, the spy who died of boredom. What sort of novel do you think it will be? Do you think it's going to be a funny one or a serious one?
Looks like a funny one.
It's a funny book. Yes, it of all the people, a spy dying of boredom would be a very funny kind of.
Probably was not a good spy. He did not get work.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and then that's right. So you can see it's going to be a funny book. So if you're on a plane or a train, you can spend some time relaxing and reading about it. Yes, exactly. It's going to be a funny book. Yeah, the second one, the other one you can look at is the Faber Book of Pop. Faber is the big, huge publishing house. They are very famous people. So to be published by Faber is an honor. It's a matter of prestige. And so when you see that a book is coming from Faber or Penguin, then you know it's going to be very high class. Okay, now we have the next one we have seen, Broken English, Poetry and Partiality. Right, then we have the next famous poem, The Wasteland. Is wasteland one word or two words? Eliot wrote it as two words, but if you look at a word like school bus, is it one word or two words? What do you think? School bus, school boy, school girl. Yeah, it means only one thing, but we write them separately. School and bus, though the meaning is one. Yeah, exactly. So what I'm trying to say is that yes, two words which mean one. So it's very difficult to define what a word is, and it's a part of the complexity of language. Okay, Catch 22 is another funny novel that you can read. Right. Fine. You're lonely when you're dead. Is that a frightening title?
It's a fact.
Yeah, so it's a fact.
It's a
Yeah,
This
fact.
is, I think, from James Hadley Chase. I was
yes, ma'am.
This was I was James Hadley. I was a Chase aficionado. I've been reading most of his books. I think both these books are
Yeah, these
Chase.
are by James Hadley Chase.
Yes.
No
No Kids
Orchids
from Miss
for Miss
Blandish also.
Blandish is,
Yes.
yes, it's a
Both of
reality.
them.
No Orchids for Miss Blandish is a very disturbing novel.
Very disturbing, and the sequel also was very disturbing.
Yes, ma'am. It's they're available on the internet, I think, in a PDF form, and anybody who wishes. They're very powerful novels,
Very powerful.
and I think George Orwell mentioned it in one of his essays. No Orchids for Miss Blandish. Yeah, I don't know if yes, the dead are very peaceful. The dead have a lot of peace, but you know, is there a difference between being alone and being lonely?
Yes, sir. We can be lonely even in a crowd.
Yes, we can be lonely in a
Feel
crowd,
like,
of course.
yes.
Yeah, so loneliness is a bad thing, but being alone is okay. It's not such a bad thing.
The physical distancing from other people, but lonely is a emotion which one can feel even in a crowded room.
That's right. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Alone is physical, and lonely is emotional. That's very well put. Yes, yes, it's an emotional aspect. That's true. That's true. Yeah. Can we move on to the next slide, ma'am?
Yes.
So titles are sometimes taken from different sources. Anybody has watched the movie or read the novel Gone with the Wind? It's one of those classics of Hollywood.
Yes, sir. I have watched. It's a wonderful movie, 4-hour long movie based on the novel.
Yes.
It's a wonderful movie. Yeah.
The title comes from this poem called Sayonara.
Yes.
It's there on the internet if you wish. It's by this guy called Ernest
Ernest
Dowson.
Dowson, yes, sir. That is
It has
another
a very long
disturbing.
Latin title.
Yes.
Things Fall Apart.
Starring Scarlett O'Hara and Red Butler.
Yes. Yeah, they are Vivian Leigh and
Vivian Leigh, yes.
Red Butler and
Vivian
Scarlett
Leigh
O'Hara and yes.
Yeah.
Clark Gable
and Vivian Leigh.
Scarlett O'Hara of the 16-inch waist.
Yes. Yes, that's right. Yes, ma'am. Things Fall Apart is from a poem by William Butler Yeats. It's called The Second Coming. Sound of Music, I'm sure people would have watched it. Sound of Music. This is from Wordsworth's Prelude. And this is the other one. The chapters in a book also can tell you what is going to happen there. This is from the Reader's Digest. It says 10 ways to kill your husband. And the writer says, if you don't want to kill him, do the opposite of what is being said here. So he gives both options there. So I hope you have noticed the way in which we write titles of books and chapters in a book. When you write the title, you italicize it if you are printing it. There are no quotation marks, but if you are writing by hand, then you underline them. But chapters in a book, which are shorter than books themselves, are written in quotation marks. These are things that you should train your eye to notice as you read. And this is a very important part of the reading experience, which will help you to write correctly. So you know that 10 Ways to Kill Your Husband is not a book, but it's a chapter, going by the way that it is written here. Yes, ma'am. Can we move on to the next one here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is the last slide, but we'll just spend a little more time on this. Hermeneutics was basically a science that was designed to discuss philosophy and especially to interpret the Bible. The hermeneutic circle basically says that the first part of a book is explained by the last part or the middle part. So what you do is to read the title and you read, let us say, we'll take the example of a story. You read the whole story and then you come back to the title again. So you make a circle. You end up where you began. And this is called the hermeneutic circle. Hermeneutics basically has to do with understanding. So our understanding of a story, a book, or whatever is a circular process. We end where we begin. Let us take up a story, which we all know very well. I didn't provide you text because it's not required, because it's a very familiar story. Let's take up a simple story like The Fox and the Crow. I'm sure we would have all read the story and remember the story by Aesop, the Greek fable teller. Anybody who doesn't know this? I'm sure all of us know the story. So when we come to the title, we see there are 3 or 4 or 5 words there. The fox and the crow. When we look at the title, it doesn't mean anything to us. It's only after we read the story that they become meaningful, in the sense that they establish a relationship between themselves. So here we have the fox and the crow. What is the word "and" doing in the middle? What is the function of "and" in the middle? Can we, anybody would like to discuss that? Yes, it joins them. Yes. It joins the two animals there. The fox and the crow are joined together, and then we see that there's going to be some relationship between them. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yes. Any other? Yes, it does show that. It's a continuation. Fine, fair enough. Does it show any other thing after that? After you read the story? Okay. Emphasis on both. Fine, fair enough. That's good. That's okay. Does it show any other thing? Okay. Yes, it will also show that the list is not complete. Yes, it does show a connection between them. Yes. Now, when you use a word like the rich and the poor, okay, could you read that sentence out, ma'am? Yeah, okay, okay. Yes, exactly. That's a very good point. Um, that is the point exactly. So, yes, that is a contrast. That's exactly the point that we are making. So, the "and" shows a contrast between them. So when we say the rich and the poor, the living and the dead, "and" is not only showing us a connection between these two things, and it is telling us that, yes, exactly. So what is the difference here between the fox and the crow? Right, as you know, it is the difference between the cunning and the gullible or the foolish. So not only is the word "and" connecting these two things, but it's also showing the contrast between these two things. And that way, the title is a very useful, very helpful thing for us. When we come back to the title, that is when we understand that these are not only two separate things, but they are connected and they are contrastive. There's a contrast between them. The contrast of the clever and the foolish, that's right. So this is called the hermeneutic circle. Yes, the fox is cunning and the crow is, yes. So that's how the title is a very important thing for us to understand. Sometimes the titles can be challenging because they can be a little obscure. I think the most recent James Bond movie was Skyfall. Anybody knows the meaning of the word Skyfall? Could you please explain that? Anybody's watched this movie, James Bond? Skyfall? What I'm trying to show here is that our movies are not different from our studies. They are all a part of our experience with language and how we interact with language, how we use language, and they are all equally sophisticated. Yeah, what does Skyfall mean? Anybody? Yes, Skyfall refers to danger. Could you be a little more specific than that? It has to be overcome. All right. Yes. Any other explanation for that? Try and save. Okay. Now, Skyfall, if you remember, is the name of James Bond's house. His house is called Skyfall. But Skyfall is a relatively new word in the language. It means a place that you know very well. And it is a place to which you bring your enemy who is much stronger than you are. to defeat them so that, you gain the advantage of a familiar space. That familiar space is called Skyfall. Did you get the idea now? Skyfall is the place where James Bond grew up. And so he knows the area like the back of his hand. But the villain doesn't know it. But the villain is very powerful. He has his helicopters, his army, and so on, whereas James Bond is alone with 2 of his friends, and that's about it. He has no sophisticated weapons to fight his much more powerful enemy. So he brings them to his house, and that is his Skyfall. So your Skyfall could be just about anything. Ma'am, can you just give me a minute? I'll be back here. Hello, I'm sorry, there was a disturbance.
It's okay, sir.
Hello?
Yes,
Ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. Yes, sir, you can start, sir.
Ma'am, can
Continue,
you hear
please.
me, ma'am?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay, ma'am. Any questions I would like to answer? If there are any questions to be answered now.
Yes, good afternoon, sir. Sir, this is Dr. Afreen Khan.
I can't hear you clearly, ma'am.
Sir, this is Dr. Afreen Khan, sir. Are you able to hear me?
Maybe I'll log in again.
So we are able to hear you clearly. Can you hear my voice?
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Hello, sir. Can you hear us?
Can you hear us, sir?
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, I'll just log in again.
Yeah, sure, sir. Okay. You please log in once again. I request the students to post their queries if they have any, and we will take it up with Veda Sharan, sir.
Yes,
You can use the YouTube chat box.
Prachi, there are a few questions.
Sir is back with us.
The students, they have already posted in the YouTube chat box. So I have got the questions I'll be asking.
Okay. We have sir back with us, I think.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Are you able to hear me, sir?
Yes, ma'am, I can. There was a problem earlier where I couldn't hear anything before I logged out and logged in again.
Okay, sir. Sir, there is a question from Shivangi Arya. She's asking how to make it out that a book is good enough without even peeping inside it.
That would be a very difficult thing, I'm sure. We go by many clues, of course. There are the authors who are standard authors, and then the area that is useful for us. Now you will see that there are many experts in areas whose English is bad, but their content is very good and very useful. So we cannot say that simply because the English is bad, then these are bad writers. So they're not concerned with English as such, I suppose. They just want to express their content. So they could be political science people or physics people or whoever, and we can't expect, grammatical, idiomatic English from them. So is a book good or bad? Well, you have some reviews of the book. You can go by the reviews. You can go by the blurb. You can just look at the preliminary pages of it and decide whether it's a good book, useful for you or not useful for it. So usually it is a sort of experiment.
And sometimes, sir, I feel that the publication houses also matter. It should be very authentic. Publications like Penguin and Oxford University.
I'm sorry to disappoint you, ma'am, but I have seen many books by Penguin, Routledge, which are big publishing houses, and they have published books on English language teaching, which had bad grammar and worse language. I mean, the grammar was bad. I mean, the grammar was bad. Can you believe it? And these are teachers who are teaching how to teach English.
Oh,
they are teacher trainers of English.
So far, we had the impressions that Routledge we thought of.
So, yeah, that's right. Normally, yes, a publishing house is a reliable source of, dependability or not. Yes. But, I don't know what these standards are, but this person, I can't name her. She's a professor here. Books were published by Routledge, but the grammar is bad. Okay, so I will not say anything beyond that.
So there is one more question from Diksha Rani. How are coffee table books different from magazines?
Different from?
Magazines.
From?
Coffee table books different from magazines.
Magazines. Right, magazines are periodicals. They are published at regular intervals. There could be fortnightlies, weeklies, and so on. But a coffee table book usually has a hardcover. It is very glossy. And as I was saying, the subject can be serious, but the treatment is not so detailed. Like you'll have a lot of pictures in it, hundreds of thousands of pictures, and there's a text explaining the pictures here. But the discussion can be serious, but it is not very detailed. It's designed more for relaxation than for knowledge. So you put them on the coffee table and read them casually when you're drinking your coffee, chatting with friends and so on. And that's why it's called a coffee table book.
Okay. Actually, there was one more question related to the first one, sir, but you have already answered that what is the use of coffee table books? But right now only you said that it's for the purpose of...
Yeah, they are a kind of mostly meant for relaxation, but also they can be very useful in the sense that you'll get some knowledge from those things.
So,
Yes, sir.
There is one more question, sir, that what are the different examples of hermeneutic circle?
Sorry, ma'am?
What are the different examples of hermeneutic circle?
A hermeneutic circle happens for almost every book that you read.
Okay.
In the sense that you begin with the title, then you go through the whole book itself, and then you come back to the title to understand how the title is connected with the book.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir.
So when you look at a detective story, for example, why does the killer do what he or she is doing? These can be understood only when we come back to the beginning or to the middle or to the end.
Okay, sir.
For example, in a detective story, so in the hermeneutic circle, if in the fox and the crow part of it, we look at the behavior of both these animals and understand how they are. So there are certain traditions about the fox and the crow. The fox is traditionally a very clever, cunning animal. We know that. And then the crow, because it is dark, is not so ugly. And so when something happens to it, we are not so sad about it. So there are a lot of other social conventions that go on behind the thing.
Sir, there is one student, Shubhra Karan. She wants to know what is phase shift.
Ma'am, could you repeat that?
She wants to know, sir. She wants the term phase shift to be explained.
Phase shift is a very simple thing. It's a collection of essays by colleagues who write essays and put them together in a collection in honor of a retiring colleague. So when this colleague retires, they might hold a seminar in this person's honor, and they present papers there. And these papers are collected into a book. There may or may not be a seminar, but in the honor of this person, they dedicate the book to this person, and they publish it.
Yes, sir, they have been.
Yeah, it's useful because there is some new information and knowledge in that. So,
actually, there have been many phase shifts like on Harish Trivedi, sir, and sir, when they were still, I think they had not yet retired, and then they just said that why I'm still to retire, why you are writing a phase shift in my honor. I still remember.
oh well, you see, in a country like India, we have a fixed age to retire, and once a person retires, then they can't be a full member of the university, even if they come back there to work for it. They are still seen as outsiders, like,
Yes, sir.
And it marks a stage in their career, in their lives, and we are honoring them by this collection. It doesn't mean that we want them to die or anything like that.
Sir, can I ask one more question? There is one more question. Do you have time?
Please, sir. Please.
Okay, sir. So there is a question from Ishita Roy. She wants to know about the spine and the gutter in the anatomy of book. If you can elaborate.
Okay, ma'am. I'll tell you what. The spine of a book is like this is the spine. That is the vertical part of the book at the back where the pages are attached.
Yes.
The gutter is inside here. This part is called the gutter. The gutter is the inside part of the book where the pages, the right and the left page join together.
Right.
That is called the gutter.
Where they are stuck and stitched.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other? Sir, there is one more question, like from Komal. She wants to know what is the apt length for a title of a book, or maybe anything.
Sorry,
for the title of a book. What is the apt length, appropriate length for the title of a book? Appropriate.
Oh, that really depends upon the author. Like if you look at the book by Darwin, The Origin of the Species, it has a very long, it's almost a small paragraph in length. It is simply called The Origin of the Species for short. So in the olden days, they used to have these long titles, but nowadays we prefer a short title. Basically, what we do when we write a book is that first we give preference to clarity. We should be clear in what we are saying. That is most important. And second, we can give importance to brevity, being short. But you cannot be short at the cost of being, unclear or confusing. Yes. So it's better that you give. So how do you how do you write a title? Well, it depends on the book itself that you're writing.
So very true, sir. Sir, actually, the next question is also related. How to write an eye-catching title that is not only relevant, but also attracts readers of different genre preferences?
Yeah, that's right. there are many ways that you can do that. You can use a quotation that can surprise the reader. And as I was saying, the hermeneutic circle is very useful, where the title suddenly becomes very illuminating when you come back to it. Like we have the title of the Agatha Christie drama called The Mousetrap, which is running in the same theater in England. It's a drama, not a movie, where actors come and act on the stage. It has been running in the same theater from 1950 to now, and it is running to full houses. Okay, I mean, the COVID has disrupted it, but if they put it back, it will still run into, but the title is very simple. It's called The Mousetrap. Okay, and if you look at a movie by Adur Gopalakrishnan in Malayalam, it's called Elipatayam, which is also a mousetrap. But this is the feudal system in Kerala before the independence, and that is the mousetrap in which the feudal guy is caught up, and he becomes useless in society because of his feudal life, and that is the mousetrap. So you can make your title symbolic. You can make your title refer to many different things, and you can make your title a challenge to the reader to understand what exactly it is. That would, of course, require practice and skill in writing it. I'll give you one more example. Lord Byron had a collection of poems which he called Idle Hours. Okay, these are poems that he wrote when he was a very young man. And the title is Idle Hours, but probably he was never more busy and more tense than when he was writing these things, because it refers back to Shakespeare's letter to his patron, in which he says, "Sir, please accept this book, which I'm dedicating to you, but I will improve myself by practicing during my idle hours to write a better book."
Okay, sir.
So in these idle hours, he's not idle, but he is working harder than ever before. So that's a very ironic way of saying these things. But when you look at it, it looks like idle hours, but they are the most tense, most hardworking hours that you can think of.
Very straining, rather, very straining.
Yeah, so this is what is called intertextuality, as you know,
yes,
which we have not had the time to talk about. So, yeah, that's a part of the story.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir. It was a very informative and enriching session. Your discussions on the anatomy of a book were really insightful. Sir, you are very, very correct that the design of the book communicates a lot. There is an intricate relationship between the cover page and the content of the book, and how our interaction with book begins as soon as we browse the books in the bookshop, and also how the titles summarize the content of the books. But right now, there was a contradiction, with the example of the idle lovers, right? Of course, there are exceptions, but exceptions are not rules, sir. My students are responding that the session was very, very brilliant. Thank you once again, sir, for your insightful observations. My heartfelt thanks to our honorable principal and patron of this program for her constant support and encouragement. Thank you, CP committee. Thank you, Devchani. Thank you, sir, once again. We are winding up now. We meet again tomorrow at 10 a.m. sharp. I repeat the instructions for the participants. You have
I'm
to...
sorry to interrupt.
Ma'am, just allow me to mention one point
Actually,
here.
we need
Yeah, Gaji, sir is saying something.
Yes, ma'am. Just one point I wanted to mention.
Yes,
somebody mentioned the purloined letter here by Edgar Allan Poe. I think that was a very impressive thing that a young person has read this thing. The purloined letter was written by, I don't know, I couldn't get time to catch the name of the person, but I just want to really appreciate that they have read this amazing short story by
so they have
Edgar
it in the
Allan Poe.
syllabus.
Okay. That's nice. Somebody had mentioned that, so that's very fascinating. That they are able to connect it to the discussion is a very interesting thing, ma'am.
Yes, that is interesting. Definitely.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, that's right.
We
Sorry
have
to
been
interrupt you,
receiving,
ma'am.
sir, many responses.
There is a short.
Just a minute, Prachi. We have been receiving many responses on the YouTube channel that your session was very, very informative, very interesting. Thank you, sir. Prachi, you can continue.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Have a great day.
Yes, ma'am. There is a short announcement for the students. There is a small change in tomorrow's session timings. The session for tomorrow is going to begin at 9 a.m. There will be 2 sessions with Dr. Revti and 1 session with Professor Veda Sharan. So I wanted to let the students know about this so that they can log in at 9 a.m. tomorrow sharp. Thank you so much.
Prachi,
Yes,
could you please articulate the announcement so that the students don't miss out on it? Please articulate it once again clearly.
Yes, surely, ma'am. Students, please note that tomorrow's session is going to begin at 9 a.m. and there are going to be 2 sessions of Dr. Revti Srinivas and 1 session of Dr. Veda Sharan sir. The session timing for Veda Sharan sir is the same at 11:30, but for Revti ma'am, we are going to begin at 9 a.m. So kindly make yourselves available and the links will be shared in the WhatsApp group. So you can join in through that link. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for this session. We really enjoyed it. So,
thank you so much.
Sir.
Very kind of you.
Yes, sir.
Prachi, please ask the organizing committee to remain.
1 minute, ma'am. I'll end the stream first.
Yes.
Okay.